For my 32nd birthday, I rented a beach house and waited for my family to show. They never came. 3 days later, I saw their family weekend vibes post from another beach without me. So I stopped paying their bills and let their lives fall apart. For my 32nd birthday, I wanted something different. Not flashy or overdone, but meaningful. I wanted to bring everyone together, not just for cake or a few photos, but for a weekend that would become one of those stories we'd laugh about years later. I rented a stunning beach house that sat right on the shore, with massive windows framing the endless ocean and a wraparound deck that promised gorgeous sunsets. The house had more than enough room for my parents, my brother and his wife, my sister and her boyfriend, plus a few close relatives. I didn't cut corners. I wanted it to be perfect, a celebration that was less about me and more about the people I loved. I spent weeks planning it down to the smallest detail. I picked dates that fit everyone's schedules and sent out invitations weeks in advance. I even double-checked with each of them to confirm. Everyone had responded with enthusiasm. "Wouldn't miss it," my brother texted. "Sounds awesome." My sister replied with a heart emoji. I created a group chat, shared directions, weather updates, a grocery list, even a Spotify playlist filled with songs from our childhood road trips. I made sure the fridge was packed with their favorite foods, Mom's Greek yogurt, Dad's favorite barbecue marinade, my brother's IPA, and the exact brand of soda my sister always insisted on. The rental alone cost me almost $2,000, but I didn't flinch, because to me, family meant everything. And if I had to spend a bit to give them a weekend of love and connection, then so be it. Friday afternoon, I packed my car to the brim, groceries, beach gear, decorations, extra towels, board games, even a custom birthday cake that said, "Family time is the best time." I drove with the windows down, music blasting, my heart full of excitement. The house was even more beautiful than the photos had shown. Clean, airy, with an open-concept living space that smelled of sea salt and possibility. I took my time arranging everything. I hung streamers, set out flip-flops near the entrance, placed personalized welcome notes on each bed. It was like setting a stage, waiting for the cast to arrive. That evening, I made myself a simple dinner and sat on the deck, watching the sunset bleed into the water. I imagined the next morning. Everyone pulling up, laughter filling the rooms, clinking glasses, the sizzle of food on the grill. I slept that night like a child on Christmas Eve, eager, full of hope, and ready. Saturday morning came, but the cars never did. I checked my phone. No missed calls, no messages. I thought maybe they were running late. Maybe there was traffic. I called my brother straight to voicemail. My sister, same. My parents' phones rang but went unanswered. I waited anxiously, pacing around the house, looking out the window every few minutes. Noon came, then 2 o'clock, then sunset, and still nothing. I tried the group chat, asking if everyone was okay, if plans had changed. No response. I sat alone that night, surrounded by enough food to feed 10 people, decorations that now felt mocking, and a birthday cake I couldn't even bring myself to cut. I watched the sun disappear again, this time through eyes that burned with confusion and humiliation. Maybe there'd been an emergency. Maybe they'd all gotten the date wrong. I clung to excuses because the truth was too heavy to face. Sunday was quiet. Still no calls. Still no arrival. The loneliness that had been whispering to me the day before now spoke loudly, echoing in the empty hallways of that beautiful, useless house. I didn't cry. I just sat there, staring at the waves, wondering what I had done wrong, wondering if they even remembered me. By Sunday evening, I packed everything back into my car, cleaned the house alone, and drove home in a fog so thick I barely noticed the miles passing by. That 2-hour drive was one of the longest of my life. I replayed every text, every call, every interaction from the last few weeks, searching desperately for clues. Had I been pushy? Had I missed something? Or was it something worse? Something I didn't want to admit? Then Tuesday came. I was at work, eating lunch alone, mindlessly scrolling through social media, trying to distract myself from the hollow ache that had been sitting in my chest since the weekend. That's when I saw it. My brother had posted a photo album titled Family Weekend Vibes. My blood went cold. The first image was of him, his wife, my sister, her boyfriend, and my parents, all sitting around a bonfire on a beach. Not the beach, but a beach, 2 hours from where I'd been. There were dozens of photos, them laughing, barbecuing, playing volleyball, drinking wine in the golden hour, watching the sunset, my sister sitting on Dad's shoulders in the water like we used to do as kids. The timestamps matched my birthday weekend exactly. It wasn't a coincidence. It wasn't a last-minute plan. They had made a choice. They'd planned a separate weekend. Together. Without me. I just stared at the screen, my hands shaking, my stomach turning. It wasn't a miscommunication. It wasn't a mistake. It was deliberate. They had looked at my invitation, my plans, my effort, and chosen to ignore it. Not just ignore it, to replace it. And worse, they'd publicly celebrated their exclusion of me. They wanted the world to see what a good time they'd had, without me. That evening, something shifted inside me. The hurt didn't go away, but it became sharper, colder, less about sadness and more about something else entirely. I sat at my kitchen table, surrounded by bills, and I remembered something important. They didn't just forget me, they depended on me. For the past 3 years, I had been quietly holding their lives together. When my father's construction business struggled during the market slump, I co-signed a business loan that kept his company afloat. When my mother needed a new SUV for her real estate work, I covered the lease payments so she could keep showing homes without worry. When my parents almost lost their home 2 years ago, I stepped in, quietly covering their mortgage while telling them it was temporary. But it wasn't temporary. It had been ongoing. I had been their financial safety net, and in return, they'd left me alone on my birthday. I made a few phone calls that night. First to the bank, to cancel all automatic mortgage payments. Then to the car dealership, informing them I would no longer be making the lease payments on the SUV. The business loan was trickier as I was a co-signer, not the primary, but I stopped covering the monthly payment I'd been quietly taking care of. Every single financial tie I had to them I cut. Carefully, methodically, quietly. No drama, just silence. By Thursday night, I had pulled the plug on every dollar I had been feeding into their lives. And for the first time in years, I slept peacefully. Friday came, then Saturday. I waited. My phone stayed quiet until Monday morning. That's when my mother called, her voice already tinged with panic. "Sweetheart, I don't know what's going on. The car payment didn't go through. They're talking about repossession. Can you check if something's wrong with your account?" I told her I wasn't sure, suggested she call the bank. Then I hung up. Tuesday, my father called, confused, embarrassed. "Son, I got a call about a missed mortgage payment. I thought you were, well, I thought it was being taken care of." I responded casually. "That's odd. Let me look into it." I didn't. Wednesday night, my brother called. He sounded different, less confident. "Hey, Dad's loan payment bounced. They're talking about late fees, credit hits. He's worried. Look, can you just help out this one time, while we sort this all out?" I took a deep breath. Then I said softly, "I'm having some financial trouble myself right now. I can't help." And that's when the panic really started. Thursday evening, my father finally sent a text that read, "Did something happen?" I stared at it for a while, thought about all the explanations I could give, all the painful truths I could spill. But I knew them. I knew what they'd do. They'd twist it, turn themselves into victims, make it about miscommunication, about me overreacting, about some silly mistake. So I typed just 2 words. Yeah, I finally took the hint. Within seconds, my phone exploded. Calls, messages, voicemails, all of them suddenly realizing what they'd done, or at least realizing that their comfortable lives were crumbling because of it. I declined every call. I read every message, but I didn't respond. I sat in the dark, watching my phone light up, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Control. They had forgotten me on my birthday. But now they were remembering who had been paying the bills. Saturday morning arrived with an unexpected knock at my door. I was still in my pajamas, sipping coffee, when my brother showed up unannounced. His face looked tired, drawn, eyes ringed with sleeplessness. Without waiting for an invitation, he walked in, as if this was still a world where he was welcome without question. He sat down at my kitchen table, hands clasped, voice unsteady. "We need to talk," he said, and for once, there was no arrogance in his tone, just panic. He spoke in a rush, explaining how everything was falling apart. The mortgage was in default, my parents were in danger of losing the house, the dealership had already towed the SUV, and the business loan had gone into delinquency. He begged me, eyes wide, voice cracking, to tell him what had happened, what he could do, how to fix it. I let him finish. I listened quietly. Then, I pulled out my phone, opened the social media app, and set it on the table between us. I didn't say a word, just tapped the album title, Family Weekend Vibes. He looked down slowly, and I watched as realization crashed into him like a wave. His mouth opened slightly, his shoulders drooped, his face lost color. I didn't have to say a word, the silence said everything. He tried to explain, said it was last minute, that his wife had found a rental closer to home, that they tried to reach me but my phone was off, that it wasn't meant to be exclusive, it just happened that way. Each excuse was weaker than the one before. I asked him one question. Why didn't anyone even check where I was? Why didn't anyone ask why I wasn't there? He looked away. He had no answer. Later that afternoon, my parents arrived together. My mother looked tearful the moment I opened the door. She practically collapsed into my arms, crying, whispering that she was sorry, that she thought the dates had gotten mixed up, that she'd meant to call but got caught up in work. My father stood behind her, silent, tense, and then finally spoke. "Son, what's it going to take to fix this? Let's just talk numbers. We'll repay you for everything. Just help us get back on track." I let out a bitter laugh. "This was never about money," I told them. "You think I'm angry because of the payments? I gave that willingly. What I didn't expect was to be treated like I didn't exist, to be forgotten by the people I was quietly keeping afloat." My mother wiped her eyes and claimed I was overreacting. "Sometimes families miscommunicate," she said softly. "Maybe next time we can create a shared calendar, so we're all on the same page." I realized then that she still didn't get it. She thought this was a scheduling error. She had no concept of the deeper hurt they'd inflicted. The next day, Sunday, my sister came by with her boyfriend. She was already crying when I opened the door. She spoke quickly, apologizing over and over, saying she didn't mean to miss my birthday, that she had been stressed with work and it slipped her mind. Her boyfriend didn't say much, just stood behind her looking ashamed. She claimed she didn't realize what weekend it was until she saw the photos posted online. But I could see the guilt all over her. She was hiding something. So I asked her directly, had the trip been planned ahead of time? Had everyone known about my beach weekend and still chosen to go somewhere else? Her face crumpled, and she nodded. Through sobs, she admitted that my brother's wife had called my beach house too fancy, said it made everyone feel like I was showing off, that it made their own struggles feel worse. She'd convinced everyone that a simpler trip would be more comfortable, more down to earth, that I was trying to prove something by renting that house. I sat there stunned. The irony was cruel. I had been paying for their mortgage, their car, their business, and somehow they saw me as the one looking down on them. I told her that for 3 years, I had been supporting this family silently, that I had paid thousands without ever asking for anything but respect, and that when I tried to celebrate my life with them, they had left me sitting alone, wondering why I wasn't enough. She kept saying she was sorry, that she'd fix it, that they'd do better, that they'd start including me, that they'd appreciate me more. But I could see that even she knew it was too late. Some things can't be undone. Some betrayals don't heal with apologies. Trust, once broken, doesn't regrow from words alone. On Monday, I got a call from one of my father's business contacts. He was looking for equipment that had been seized by the bank. The loan had gone into default. His company was done. That same day, I learned that my mother's SUV had been repossessed over the weekend. The mortgage was officially in pre-foreclosure. They had 10 days to make a full payment or risk losing their home. The entire structure of their lives was buckling. I sat on my couch, watching the collapse, not with malice, but with clarity. This wasn't revenge. It was consequence. For years I had padded their fall, and when I moved my hands, they hit the ground. That evening my brother called again. This time his voice was completely defeated. "Tell me what you want," he said. "I'll do anything. I'll organize a new birthday party. A vacation, anything. You plan it. You pick the place. We'll all come. Just help us. Please." I let him speak. Then I said, "You still don't understand. This was never about money. It was about whether I mattered to you outside of what I could give." And the answer was no. Tuesday, during my lunch break at work, I walked out to the parking lot and found my entire family waiting for me. They'd driven in together. Even my brother's wife was there, looking furious but keeping quiet. My father stepped forward, hands out, begging me to listen. "I'll sign over half the business to you," he said. "Just save it." My mother promised to quit real estate and take a regular job so she could repay me slowly. My brother and sister offered to take out loans, to sell their cars, anything to show me they were serious. It would have been comical if it weren't so pathetic. They still thought this could be fixed with money, with bargains, with desperation. I told them that all I'd ever wanted was basic human decency, and that's something they couldn't afford because they'd never valued me enough to give it freely. That's when my brother's wife finally spoke. Her voice was cold, sharp. "You're being petty," she snapped. "All of this over a party? You're destroying people's lives because you got your feelings hurt over a misunderstanding." She turned to the others. "This is why I didn't want him there in the first place." Her words hung in the air like smoke. Even my own family looked stunned. But for me it was closure. She had finally said it out loud. The truth. They hadn't forgotten me. They had excluded me. On purpose. I nodded slowly. "Thank you," I said to her, "for finally being honest." Then I looked at the rest of them. "You've all shown me exactly how much I meant to you, and I'm just returning the favor." I turned and walked back into my office, blocking every number before I reached my desk. 3 weeks later, I heard through a mutual friend that my parents had lost the house. They were staying in my brother's basement. My father's business had been liquidated. My mother had picked up a part-time job at a department store. My sister had moved back in with her boyfriend after losing her apartment. My brother had started driving for a delivery service to make ends meet. The friend asked me if I planned to reconcile, if this was just a temporary blow-up, a lesson, punishment, if I missed them. I thought about it for a long time. Then I realized the truth. I didn't, because I had already grieved them. Not the version of them that now existed, but the version I had believed in. The family I thought I had never existed. What I had been supporting, loving, prioritizing was a mirage. They had loved the security I provided, the stability I gave. But me, the person, I had been invisible. Now, for the first time in years, I was financially stable, emotionally at peace, unburdened. I had space to build relationships with people who didn't just want what I could offer, but actually wanted me. So that weekend, I rented another beach house. Smaller, cozier. I invited a few friends, people who'd remembered my birthday without reminders, who had called when they saw my beach photos with no guests, who'd asked, "Are you okay?" instead of, "Can you help?" We sat around the fire pit that weekend, laughed until our faces hurt, played card games, cooked together. The sunset was the same, but everything else was different. It was real. In one of the photos I posted that night, someone commented, "Looks like the perfect family weekend." And for the first time, it was true.